looking at this route today, it looks like that it should be a one for the breakaway. But I've said that many times in this race, and I've been totally wrong. But you could see that it might be a more of a wait, hold back a little bit for the GC men and their teams, and wait for this final. But we will have a battle again for that yellow jersey. If not on the the penultimate climb, certainly on the final one.
Well, we've been up here a few times in the last few years. No finish up at Peyragudes today, but we do begin with one of those mountains that was taken on back in 1910 by Octave Lapisse, who was so much in charge that he managed to stop for a coffee in Saint-Girons on the way to putting a lot of minutes into his competitors. We start with the Peyre-Sourde, 7 kilometers uphill, on the shorter side before defending all the way back to Bagnères-de-Luchon. An intermediate sprint at Martignac. Col de Monte is after that. Portée d'Aspet as well. A long section in the valley before the Col d'Agnès and Plateau de Beille. All category finish. One of the many mighty mountains on this tour. No means the last. Remember, we go back to the Alps next week. But this finish at over 15 k's long and a sustained gradient of at least 8%. Lots of riders on the rollers this morning. We can expect the unexpected here. Not just on ability this. We're at day 15 in the tour. Yesterday, though, Sean Kelly, before we get going today, it was the momentum that was wrestled back, wasn't it, by Tadej Pogacar. He now leads Jonas Vingegaard by 1 minute and 57 and a marvellous gap of 2:22 to Remco Evenepoel in third.
Yes, well, again, what a demonstration by the team of UAE, and finishing off the man in the yellow jersey, Pogacar. And yeah, they set out to do that yesterday, and I think I mentioned on commentary they wanted to make the race difficult all day and take it down to the final where everybody is going to be suffering from fatigue. And yeah, the yellow jersey was the strongest, but the fight is still on. Today is another day. We could see a change in that. We could see Vingegaard maybe being the better one today, but this man, he's taking a good grip on this yellow jersey. But as you said, today we have a lot of days to come in this race, and things can change so quickly in the matter of 24 hours or in a number of days.
If you're looking for our protagonist today, Tadej Pogacar is in the yellow jersey, of course, as the race leader. Jonas Vingegaard is looking after the polka dot jersey for him, so look for him in a change strip today. And Remco Evenepoel wears the white jersey. Remember, as well, the fourth man in this fight seems to be Carlos Rodriguez. Still fifth for the moment, but again getting closer to fourth. He's at 6:09. He's wearing the Ineos Grenadiers jersey. We move out of Loudonvielle, up onto the main mountain road and heading to kilometer zero. Today's destination is the Plateau de Beille, for the first time since Purito Rodriguez was a victor in 2015. Sixth finish this year at that summit high in the Pyrenees. The first time it was ever used was the last time a rider did the Giro Tour double, 1998. And the winner on that day was the rider who pulled off that feat, Marco Pantani. The latest rider to try and do it has an advantage with a week and a bit to go. But we know that anything and everything will happen in this race as the Tour moves into the final 7 stages. Through kilometer zero we come. We're all present and correct, and it's time for the pain to begin again. Uphill they go. They've been on the rollers all morning. It's the French National Day, a hot day, and you can see the French riders attacking straight away. A big one to be up the road today. DSM go for it. You can see Movistar on the move as well. Arkea, Astana, and at the front of this race, Frank van den Broek's been a top rider. Oscar Onley's been up there as well. 7 k's then for this first categorized climb. Look at Harold Tejada. He's not far away. That's Gregor Mühlberger on the left-hand side in the blue. But straight away, nobody able to get away. Let's see how this develops. I think camera's important at the front, but also at the back with the trap door opening early today, Sean.
Well, that is going to be a concern for the non-climbers here, because if there's a big battle here in this first climb of the day, then the sprinters could be in real difficulty. And as we can see already, riders Aaron and Demar starting to lose a bit of ground here, and it's only just, you know, tempo on the front when it does really kick off. But will there be anybody, you know, prepared to go for on this earlier part? I would expect so. And here we go. It's the French riders, of course. Bastille Day, they're going to be very active here, and yeah, the sprinters have to be real careful on this first climb, and the first two climbs really of the day. Try and get into the valley, be in the peloton. That would be the perfect place to be, but it's not going to be an easy one for them.
The 14th of July every year, etched into the fabric of the French Republic. 14 Juillet, Bastille Day, the storming of Bastille, and the start of the French Revolution. It's the revolutions on the pedals of the French champion's bike that's at the front of the Tour at the minute. But that finishes, and we get the latest move, and it's Nielsen Paulus with the first real stinging attack of the day. Being followed straight away. Groupama, it's a huge day for them.
Bashir.
You know, Bashir's there. Yeah, and his teammate just 2 wheels behind him as well. Of course, he's a Luxembourg national champion, but he rides for Groupama. We all know Marc Madiot. We know how patriotic and passionate he is. If he had to choose to win a day, today would be the day, wouldn't it?
Well, this would be the real, you know, making of the tour for a French team, a French rider to win here, and they are going to be very active. And we can see if Education, Easy Post, you know, they have been active every day. Yesterday, very much, you know, numbers in the breakaway, and again today, as we can see, another sprinter here in difficulty.
Kees Bol going up the back to join Arnaud Demar, and up the road we've seen Kees Bol's teammate Harold Tejada giving it a go on a couple of occasions. Decathlon having a go here at the front as well. Alarm bells ringing for any of the favourites so far. They're sitting back, following the wheels and waiting. Out the back too is Fernando Gaviria. 3 big name sprinters gone already. There's a jersey belonging to Jaco Alula. And Sean, if this carries on, long old day today, loads of mountains, could be tough for the time limit.
Yes, it will be a tough one, and we can see just under Cavendish. 6 kilometres, Cavendish losing ground here. And, you know, we're a long ways from the top of this climb, and the real attacking haven't not started yet. They're just, you know, putting in these feelers and see what the reaction is. And as we get further up this climb, the final number of kilometres, I'm expecting a lot more action here to try and get away from the peloton, form that breakaway. As we can see here, it's just slowly starting to wind up the pace here.
It's Harold Tejada who's being chased down by Chris Harper. Tejada, the Colombian rider who won a race as a pro for the first time this year at the Tour Colombia 2.1. Five Ks to the top of one of the most famous climbs in the whole of cycling, the Béresson. Climbed 70 times now in the history of the Tour. This side, I think, is the road that's a little more twisty and narrow in places. The other side, a wider road. Not too much of a gap yet. But he's growing ever so slightly. Juniette's now gain of Groupama, the Luxembourg national champion, tries to bring it on. And one by one, a trapdoor is getting more occupants sitting on it, ready to drop through it.
And the trappers get bigger, we can see, bigger groups going out now as well, just individual riders getting dropped. But we can see here the damage it's doing as we go further up this climb. And we can see on the front it's getting more active. Jaco Lula starting to chase there, and this is going to be a fight to get in the breakaway. It's going to be a fight to limit the losses on this climb, as we can see Groenewegen and a lot more of the fast men having difficulty.
This is Sir Warenschold towards the back alongside Alexander Kristoff, Arnaud Delis. Victor Campenaerts looks to be Delis' bodyguard here, looking after him. Durbridge was waiting there with Mesgits and with Groenewegen. Robert Gees was further back. This now is Gianni Vermeers. And now the South African champion Ryan Gibbons also out the back. 53 just in front of him. Sam Bennett just about hanging on for now. As a teammate in Dorian Godon just ahead. At the front of the race, it's Already seen Maxime Vauxhill's getting involved, and Jai Hindley now, the first real big name, being followed by Romain Bardet, another of those. Ben Healy's up there as well again, Sean.
Yes, and what a ride by Ben Healy yesterday in that final, with just such a small advantage going into the final climb. He put up a great battle, and I think he's a rider that if you give him a number of minutes going into the final, well then he's a one who is able to pull that great performance out of the bag. And the reason he's not being allowed to get into the breakaway is easy, because there's a lot of riders want to follow him. He's a known rider for that that strong final, able to finish it off in the end, so riders want to be in the break with him. But again, after yesterday, up here again today.
No danger in the GC now is Hindley, as we see Lenny Martinez going backwards. But that was interesting, wasn't it? Did you just see Adam Yates was very, very much to the front there. He was being followed close by Remco Evenepoel. Then you had Tadej Pogacar in attendance, of course, because Evenepoel was there. And that brought to Jonas Vingegaard. Keep your eyes on that one. Wouldn't be the first time that Yates had filtered up the road in this race. This is Turgis. He was first over the top the last time we climbed the Pérosourde. I don't think that's going to be the case today. He's out the back now. Not even halfway up yet. 8% here. 4.3 Ks to go and we get the latest move. And it's coming from Jakob Fuglsang of Israel Premier Tech. A veteran, 39 now. Says he wants to carry on for another year as well. And he's going to be chased down by one of the riders from the Ineos Grenadiers.
Laurens de Plus.
Looks like his rangy style, doesn't it? The Belgian. In good form this season. Juniette continues to chase behind. Cofidis have a rider in there too. And this, in the meantime, is Yves Lompard. And alongside him there, you can see the sprinter from Germany, Pascal Ackermann. Kevin Vauquelin out the back as well. Ben Turner, who we've seen suffering, arriving in a separate car today, masked up, maybe the latest to be suffering with illness. He's towards the back, not quite dropped yet, but as I say that, the gap opens up in front. And also, for now, it's goodbye to Brian Coca. Two riders with a slight gap there. Fuglsang and De Plus. And a lot of superstars in the group chasing on. This is one of the groups that's just dropped off the back with Turner in it. Also there is Marco Haller. 122 is Cedric Berlens. 56 there. Oliver Naassen. Kevin Vauquelin, who won stage 2. And his teammate just ahead there. And then there's this gap. More riders goodbye. Cofidis, they had a full page in L'Equipe today, talking about how they had or hadn't done things right. And on the national day, I don't think it was ever really going to be a day for La Peja today, but it's not looking like it at all. He's dropped.
No, and haven't been in the best of form in this race. We haven't seen him a lot, but sometimes the riders, you not see him maybe for the first 10 days, maybe 2 weeks, and then as you get in to that point of the race, they start getting better. Sometimes, they don't feel at their best, but yeah, La Peja, national champion, not looking good again today, as he has been for a number of days, a lot of days in this race.
Yeah, on the attack once more. Total Energy will follow them as De Plus and Fuglsang are caught. Two more riders from UAE start to make their presence felt at the front, one of whom we've already seen was Adam Yates. The other is now Max Soler. More attacks start to come from behind. A couple more of those yellow helmets we can see there. Oof, you can tell it's difficult if Wout Poels is being dropped already. Deary me. Brutal. Still 3 Ks to the top. Next to say goodbye is the former leader of the Vuelta, Odd Christian Eiking. That's Nico Denz wearing 82. 37 there is Geraint Thomas. Yesterday admitted to suffering from COVID a little. Felt good enough to ride on. He's in that next group that's been dropped. Podium place, of course, at the Giro again this year. Former Tour winner. Geraint Thomas for now says goodbye to the front. Can't be that many left at the front now. That's all that's left. Deary me.
And we can see on the front, not able to get out a group here, as we can see Ben Healy just pushing on, but you know, a very slim advantage over the front of the peloton and being chased down by the rider on the front there. The good thing is, I think there's a lot of riders out the rear, so there'll be a lot of groups they'll be able to form together and try and get back into the peloton when they get over this one. We have a good section in the valley, but then we go on to another first category climb. But when you have numbers, of course, it's always the advantage if they work well together and try and rectify the situation, because when you see the riders are going out here, a lot of really good climbers, it just tells the fatigue, this race being so difficult, it's telling on a lot of riders.
More than 2 weeks in now. That was Frank van den Broek who made an early attack. He's gone. Also going with him, the former world champion, current Portuguese champion Rui Costa. Jordan Gigas, the rider to join the Irishman Ben Healy. We saw Bruno Armirail chasing down. On his wheel, not taking the turn though, obviously told to stay with his man, was Matteo Jorgensen. And keep your eye on this, because there are 2 jerseys belonging to UAE Emirates sneaking into a group here, Sean.
Yes, well, we have seen the team of UAE. They have been very present to the front here, and when you've got the class riders in that team, and we see the way they have been, you know, as a team, they've really dominated yesterday and many days previous as well. And the riders here, they are going to be comfortable in this situation. We can see Soleil, we can see Sivakov there, we can see Yates just a bit further back. So, yeah, UAE very much to the front, and they do not want to leave a big group get away here and having to control. So that's what they're doing, they're marking for the moment. But, yeah, it's a great situation to be in, a great feeling as well. As a rider of that level, when you're here in the front of the race and you're bossing the peloton, you're in control at the moment. It's a lovely way to be, and you enjoy it like this, where the guys are out the rear, the fast men, the non-climbers. It's a horrible day here to start out.
Giga goes again, and Armirail tries to follow Ben Healy, peels off. This now is Jai Hindley, staying close to Jai Hindley, and I think the reason we saw those 2 UAE helmets and then white jerseys following was the fact that Matteo Jorgensen was there. They were marking him. They weren't letting him go anywhere. Jorgensen 10th at 10:35. Crucially, teammate of Jonas Vingegaard. Looks like Onley's going to try again. By the way, the last Frenchman to win on the 14th of July, Warren Barguil, was hovering perilously close to that wide open trapdoor at the back. Of course, he was victorious 7 years ago in the Pyrenean town of Foix. Here's Stefan Küng. I talked about Barguil, I think that was him next to the Swiss star. The top's up here, and this is a beautiful bit of road. One of my favourite places in the Pyrenees, this. A nice sunny day. You've got the other road that goes up to Peyragudes. Hill that they're going to go down now rather rapidly all the way towards Bagnac-Voluchon. This is the Tour de France in all of its essence. Bruno Armirail again is on the front. 2 riders come across. One we think might have been Onley. Have to wait to get a look. Couple try to come and join. David Gaudu has turned up. A few riders blocking the road at the front. Small group looks like it might have an opportunity to get a bit of road. They look around, but then the attacks come again. Here come Movistar. They look to be Oyer Lascano yet again.
Yes, and of course he is an eye on the polka dot jersey, so we're trying to get into the breakaway. He picked up quite a number of mountain classification points yesterday, but we can see Bruno Armirail there riding on the front. He's the local, of course, so when you know the road, it makes it much easier. Or does it?
I was waiting for that second half and qualifier there. Or does it? Exactly. There's Biniam Girmay. He's almost survived to the top there with... And he's climbing with Jonathan Castroviejo. That's how well Biniam Girmay is going. Jonas Abramson, by the way, was just losing contact, and we're not used to seeing him, are we, in his normal jersey anymore? Out of the polka dots for the first time today. They're being looked after by Jonas Vingegaard. Gaudu at the front. It looks as though they've been pulled up to the back by Oyer Lascano. He sits at the top of your picture now. and just tries to steal a march. Sean mentioned the King of the Mountains competition. He's a kilometre away from the top, and there are 10 points available at the top of the Pérochon. It is a first category climb. Simon Yates starts to show his face, left-hand side, orange and green jersey. And now he makes a move. Always going to be followed, a rider of that caliber. He's won in the Pyrenees before. Of course, he's out of the general classification. He's looking to try and take what would be a second stage win for his team after Dylan Groenewegen already won last week. I wonder if he has his eyes on the polka dot jersey at some point as well with the week that's to come. Jorgensen still follows him. He's never far away. Carapaz is there too in the pink jersey. Gaudu looks around. That's Mikel Landa at the back of your shot, right on the wheel of Adam Yates. This is Niels Paulet. And he's just about hanging on. He's not far from the top, almost made it. And you think that if you get to this stage, Sean, Mathieu van der Poel's in there as well. You're a good descender, you might well get back on the other side.
Yes, it depends on this final couple of 100 metres, 600 metres to go. So it looks like anybody is there on the tail in the peloton should be able to make it back on the descent. And we see Germay there. He was just digging full 100% try and stay, because if he gets over this one, he gets intermediate sprint point. Then he picks up green jersey points. And that would really, you know, kill off the green jersey classification, because he's a long way ahead. But we can see here the action is really kicking off here in this final 500 metres before the GPM point.
And Romain Bardet already wants a winner of this competition, wants to say goodbye to the Tour with a polka dot jersey to take home. And here he is, just about dodging that supporter there. Thankfully no packet to Chris this time. Second wheel is Oyer Lascano. Third in the line there, David Gaudu. Here comes Lascano, gritting his teeth, the Basque rider. Plenty of support for him today. 230 metres, and look at the Basque boy go. Movistar have their man. Can Gaudu get there? He might well be able to do it. David Gaudu comes through, and he should now take the points. 10 points are going to go to Gaudu, it seems. Lascano will look for the 8 that will catapult him up in the standings as well. You can see all of those Basque flags in the background. The Spaniards are here waving the Rojiwald as well. And it's David Gaudu who's smiling, believe it or not, after all of that ordeal. Well played. There's the first reward of the day. It's 10 points for Gaudu. It's 8 going to Lascano. 6 will go the way of Bardet. And the King of the Mountains competition on one of the big days for it is underway for the day. What sort of gaps are we looking at behind? For now, the biggest gaps we've seen, Sean.
Yes, we can see there the big effort to get the maximum mountain classification points, and we can see Carapaz kicking on here again. This is going to be an interesting one now. There are more riders wanting to get across here, and you know they're going to be concerned that in the peloton there's a lot of teams wanting to leave this one go away, notably the GC men. But yeah, this is it's a small group considering 190 kilometers still to go. But yeah, if it starts to close down the peloton, a small group could be the one go. But it's going to be a long day and a difficult day for such a small group.
This was Gaudu. One of his happier moments at the Tour this year. Now, really fast descent this. Slightly technical for the first couple of kilometres, and then it's a really quick, fast, wide road to Bagnères de Luchon. Just ask Chris Froome, remember that?
Yes, and looking at the GPM classification, Lascano, he had 27. He was sitting in 5th place. Gaudu was a little bit further down in 20. But when you look at the overall general classification, Pogacar 56, like that is a big one to come back on. But if you get into the breakaway, you can pick up a lot of points here today.
Just under 190 kilometres to go. We've not had 10Ks of racing yet, but they have been quite revealing as to how the legs are going with everybody else and what the ambitions are today. We have Gaudu, Lascano and Bardet up the road, trying to attack EF Education easy post over the top. We saw it with Carapaz. One of their riders is on the move here. It's been policed so far by the big teams without any big news. And we've seen riders like Girmay hanging on. They're hoping to go to the intermediate sprint at Marignac. Sean's been alongside me in the commentary box. Adam joins us now. Adam, interesting start.
Hard start, very, very hard start of today's stage. We can see it in the riders and see how difficult it is. And it's only going to get harder, you know. I can imagine when they get down off the descent, they've got a slight valley before that intermediate sprint you mentioned, Rob. And then it's whack straight up the next climb. Legs are on fire. And in UAE, look like they really want to control this today, really want that break to go so they can have an easier time of it, which polar opposite to what we've seen before, because normally they're all over it. They want that break to carry on for a long time so they don't have to do all that riding, but it looks completely different attitude from them today.
Interesting to see how it develops here, because this is a difficult descent to get away on. And once you've got this first part out, though, it's not one of the more technical ones. It's a really fast road. And then we've got another first category climb coming after that. Intermediate sprint, as we mentioned. Girmay will be happy to take whatever points he can to. Does he have any teammates in there to help him? This is what Sean was talking about. Gaudu taking 10, 8 to Lascano. Lascano, by the way, now moving up one place to 4th. 35 points for him, 57 for the leader, Pogacar. And our leader on the bike today is Matt Stevens.
Just cresting the Col de Perrosord. Nico Den's there, one of many, many riders already out of the back. We've already got the gruppetto that has formed. Mark Cavendish is with Arnaud Demar. He's with David Ballerini just behind the group with Dylan Groenewegen and all of the other sprinters. Sam Bennett, also there, Jasper Philipsen as well. Just cresting the climb. It's 26 degrees, very, very warm indeed. Hardly a cloud in the sky, and what a brutal, brutal start to the stage, especially for the fast men. It's so crucial now that they get together, work as best they can, get down these descents efficiently, and then in these valley roads try and mitigate the time that they've lost. But they've been up, it's now turned to go down. Wow, look at the views here. Back to our commentators.
Merci, Matt. More from Matt Stevens throughout the day on his final day on the bike before Mr. Blythe will leave the studio. We'll miss him on the commentary, but we look forward to him holding on for dear life at the back of that motorbike.
I will be, yeah. I'm going to be holding on properly as well. The last week that I've got going up and down here, it's going to be quite frightening, but we see Ugo Ull.
A winner in the Pyrenees previously as well. Looked like he might have had a bit of a mechanical issue. That back wheel's wobbling away.
Fingers crossed not down this descent. That's the last thing you need.
Now they're off the harder section of the descent now. This is the big main road they fly down. You've been up and down this a few times, Sean.
A long time ago, more easily in the car, of course, and certainly more enjoyable in the car. And it is going to be a real difficult one for the sprint teams, as we heard from Matt there. You know, they are already many groups back the road, and you know, with the distance we have to go to the end of this stage, the difficulty, this will be a real push on. They cannot relax at all when they get over the top here. They're going to try and get back into the cavalcade and get onto the peloton, but we can see the race is still on out front, and that is going to be the problem, because there's more teams wanting to get into the breakaway, not allow this three-man group to get away. 18 seconds is nothing at the moment, and the Valley Road, that is where it will be interesting to see what the situation will be as we get into this 20k in the valley.
Told you it was a vast road, this one.
I mean, it doesn't look that quick, does it? That's the frightening thing with it. When we watch it on telly now, and this is what I always say when you're on a motorbike, we never realise how fast these rides are going. Uphill, downhill, on the flat, it's just crazy. Touching on pretty much 100k an hour there, 60 mile an hour.
They're already halfway down to Bagnères de Luchon. 20 seconds they have. This is Gaudu on the back, Lascano in the middle, Bardet at the front. All trying to search for a victory. And in the case of the two Frenchmen, which would end up being one of the most special of their careers if they could pull it off, but we are a heck of a long time from deciding that. We're not even close to deciding what happens with a possible breakaway yet either.
It's going to be interesting when they get a bit further down here, you know, when it flattens off ever so slightly. Will the sprint teams ride if they've got their man there? Well, I mean, will Alpecin ride for Philipsen, or will they try and make him jump in a move like he did yesterday?
Well, Matt seemed to think that Philipsen had been dropped, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if he is dropped up there, it depends how these ride and how they go downhill, you know. There's enough time for them to get back on if they can get into the cars. As soon as you get into the cars, you're almost laughing in this section. What, they've got 15, 20k, a bit more till the sprint point, so there is time for it to come back. It just depends on what happens in this group. So I can't imagine this breakaway is going to be the break of the day on a day like today. You know, there's going to be more riders wanting to try.
In and out of Saint-Aventin, and it's probably a good time to say a very good morning to Jonathan Harris-Bass while we're going down here, and gaps aren't really being closed or opened up. How are you, Jono?
I'm all right, thank you very much. I'm very, very glad that I'm not doing 197 kilometres up and down Pyrenean mountains in this heat. I've got to be honest.
I didn't think it was your thing.
No. I mean, Adam's about to chirp and just say, mate, there's never a time that you're going to be able to do 10 kilometres.
No, I'm not, Jono. Look, I've seen you. Your body's a temple. I believe that you could do more than 10, maybe 11.
Downhill.
Yeah. Downhill with the brakes on full, there's no doubt about it.
No, Jono, you'd be fine on a day like today. Just cruising along, enjoying the sunshine. Nice little beer maybe at the bottom of a hill. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Or at the top.
Yeah, probably at the top and bottom of every hill. Be a lovely day out.
Couple of twists and turns down here on the way to Bagnères de Luchon, Jono. Pyrenees, you spoke briefly yesterday, but it was a full gas day. What are your memories of the Pyrenees? What do you think of this part of the world?
Oh, absolutely stunning. I remember coming down here for the first time probably I reckon I was sort of 11 or 12 years old, and going up into the mountains to watch golden eagles, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was a day very much like today, beautifully clear and just and majestic. So I'm, as you know, Rob, I can be quite sceptical about the mountains and the mountain folk, but I love the Pyrenees, and I find, yeah, again, as I was saying the other day when talking about sort of the pace of life in the south of France, I find Pyrenean pace of life is very, very similar as well, very, very distant from the speeds that are being taken on by the peloton, actually.
Tremendous. Thanks, Jono. Well, we'll try and get to you for a little bit of input on the French National Day as well later on today. The minute, the gap has come down to 10 seconds. Cordu, Lascano and Bardet out there. Decathlon are desperate to get up their own, and Bruno Mirail, as Sean mentioned, on home roads today in the southwest of France. He wants to be a protagonist. Yes, and we're going to see a move here on the right-hand side, by Red Bora Hansgrohe. I think it might be Jai Hindley.
Yes, well, we can see Mirail there is very active, but 7 seconds, and we can see here, you know, more riders wanting to come across, and now we're going to get into the section where riders that are in the peloton that want to get into the breakaway, it will be an opportunity. We could see also the overhead shots there, lots of groups just racing full on down the hill there to try and get back into the peloton, and it will be an interesting one as we go closer to the points classification point. You know, how many of the sprinters will be able to get back in. We see Germay, he was the one, I think, in the classification in that ranking, very much up in the peloton as we got closer to the top. But if you dig real deep, you can really, you know, blow your engine and lose a lot of time in the final kilometre of 1500 metres. You can lose, you know, a minute and a half. And riders that are just making the calculation on the climb, you know, get into the rhythm. They can, so many riders go by you, but you cannot click on the wheels.
We just saw Lascano seeming like he was waiting up a little there.
Odd time to be waiting up, really. He's got over the first climb of the day. He's got this valley now, and it is only 8 seconds behind, but 8 seconds at this speed, 6 seconds now. It's still a big gap for not a lot of effort that he's got to do riding down hill and pushing up.
I think that might be him. He's just been retaken by the bunch there. There's a Movistar jersey that was just slipping down into about 10th position on the right-hand side.
It's always better
on that.
It's always better to be in the front on a day like this. You know, if he's in a breakaway here, let the other riders come to you rather than go back and have to try again to get in the break.
Well, his teammate's now on the front. Yeah, he has been retaken because you can just see the other two up the front. His teammate, of course, the Spanish champion, fellow Basque rider, Alex Aramburu. And we're into Bagnères de Luchon. Sean mentioned it yesterday. It was the venue for that grid start that was very quickly forgotten, thankfully, and consigned to the dustbin. It was all fun and games for the one day, wasn't it?
I think they should have a Le Mans start for a TT.
I don't want to commentate for 24 hours, do you?
No.
177 kilometers to go into Luchon they come.
Rob, can I just pick... Adam, do you mean by a Le Mans, as in the old-style Le Mans start, where they start off the bike, have to run across the track and jump onto the bike and clip in? Yeah, I actually fancy that. I mean, the Grand Prix-style grid start was an absolute disaster. The stage itself, which was that short climbing stage, was incredible. I think we're going to hear from Matt, but maybe we can talk about that a bit more later.
110 kilometres an hour. Nico Denz has just come past us. Yes, that's the sort of speeds we are moving at on the descent. He is absolutely flying to get back into contention, just to make his day that little bit easier. One of multiple riders out the back, but I just wanted to give you a sense of just the ridiculous speed that we get on these descents as we throttle back into a hairpin. Police comes by, it's going to be a couple, no more riders out of sight. No more riders in sight, actually. It's a big gap. They put up a bit of a barrage, I think, as we accelerate out of this bend. But yeah, that descent on the straight parts, we're certainly setting off a few speed cameras as we career into another hairpin, and Nico Denz is going faster than us. Back to the commentators, breathless stuff here on the descent of the Perrosord.
This is Bob Jungels off the front for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. He must have been the rider we saw attacking a moment ago. We said it might have been Jai Hindley because we had seen him jumping on the climb, but it's Bob Jungels here, winner of Liège, and of course a winner at the Tour de France from a breakaway a couple of years ago in the Alps. Hearing from Matt there, that is incredible, isn't it? Yeah. He's traveling at 110 k's an hour and Nico Denz is overtaking him. That's scary.
It is scary fast. It's ridiculously fast. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, well, it is ridiculously fast, but that's the speeds they're going, and they do that many times, and it's great just to have Matt on the motorbike there to just get a feel for how fast those guys goes down. And we could see there there's sections, quite long straights. You can't just get down in the tuck position, aerodynamic position, and leave it rip down. And yeah, 110. But we see in a lot of races like where they go well over that as well. And that descent, it wasn't really, a rapid fast one. There's a lot more descents that we go through in some races that are faster again.
A drink for Romain Bardet. And he's requiring it from the neutral car at the moment because, of course, with all the riders getting dropped on that climb, then the descent difficult for team cars there. Adam.
Two riders at the back, Tim Wellens and Marc Soler there, the two UAE riders. They don't look stressed whatsoever about this breakaway, and they're two of the riders that have to do the work, sort of that mid-stage effort. Niels Pollitt, he has been dropped, I believe. He might be on back in the peloton right now, but you thought these two riders would be a little bit more towards the front, controlling things just in case, but they are obviously quite happy for the peloton and the teammates and other riders to maybe go on the attack. Just full tranquilo right at the back. It's beautiful.
I would say their contracts may be up, and their discussion, what should they be looking for from UAE?
UAE aren't really controlling here. They're not having to do so. They aren't worried. Stage 15. Here is Biniam Girmay coming back to try and take sprint points. And well, 20 points here if he could take them. As he rejoins the front of the race would be very, very nice to secure the green jersey. There's Geraint Thomas returning as well alongside Jonas Abrahamsen. This is Tish Benoit at the back. There's Tim Wellens. Wellens, who has been first over the Perrosord before when we've raced. It's as though he might be off back to the car if they're getting back on, and I think the bar might just be about opening after that first climb. We're we are 20 k's in now.
How different does Abrahamsen look back in his Uno X kit?
Yeah.
So different. It's great to see, though, Jonas Vingegaard now wearing that polka dot jersey. The top three on GC, all in a Tour de France jersey now. Obviously, Tadej Pogačar yellow, Jonas Vingegaard. See Biniam Girmay in the background, just jumping across to this group, or looking like he's trying to.
He just got back onto the peloton. A group have broken off the front. Michael Matthews is in it. He wants to be in there. He's got a teammate in it, and Louis Meintjes, his Marnus Court at the front of the race as well. Michał Kwiatkowski's there yet again. Jai Hindley's made it through this time.
Fuglsang as well has been getting better. And
Okay,
better.
looks like it's gonna
in there as well from
start doing this bullshit.
Yeah, teammate for Biniam Girmay.
Yeah.
Jungles is there with Hindley. There's a rider from Lidl Trek. There's another Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe exit through. Gregor Mühlberger's at the front for Movistar.
Boy, this is starting to be a big group now. Rui Costa in the background.
He wants to close it because EF aren't represented at all, are they? Following the wheels at the back, Tischbenutz in there. Getting back on is Jasper Sturve. He's with Tom Screens. I think he thought it was going to be a long day today because just 200 metres into the neutral, he ended up with a flat tyre.
You imagine on a day like today, flat tyre straight out of the blocks.
I've just seen Adam, by the way, on the app ordering his lunch, and Tim Wellens has had the Tour de France equivalent of that. He dropped back, picked up the bag, and he's the delivery driver going straight up to Tadej Pogacar.
He will be on a day like today as well. There'll be a lot of staff out on the road, a lot of soigneurs, ice bottles. The car will be rammed with them. They'll probably, when they get to the feed zone, they'll probably chuck a new cooler in the car full of new ice, new bottles.
Unfortunately for Wellens, sorry Rob, I don't think he's getting the same menu as Adam.
I'm having an apple today, Sean.
You can just see a few gaps opening up there behind. They were being closed, opened up all the time. It's an interesting outfit.
What's like
Certainly was original. And there's quite a gap now. Costa has got across, and behind in the peloton, is this the moment where the big break of the day goes up the road? Aramburu's in this. You can see that behind, Bernard is there as well. Riders are desperate to get back across, but just as I said, it might be calming down. We get more moves behind us. We're now looking at Marc Soler.
What's interesting as well, Matt Stevens was mentioning Nico Denz coming past. He's in that group in the front now as well. So that shows you, get back on, no rest for the wicked, straight back to the front and try and get in a breakaway, and he's been able to do that. And it is a big group, as you say, Rob. What, 17, 18 riders probably?
Hasn't quite calmed down behind you. You can just see it's one long line still, because riders are trying to get out there and make it up to the front.
I can't imagine if this stays under 30 seconds, this will just go deep into this next mountain. Attacks will start to come from it. There's Nico Denz right now, just mentioning, number 82.
Davide Formolo up the road from Movistar. Biniam Girmay here, who wants the 20 points available. Gregor Mühlberger is the rider on his wheel, the Austrian. Already seen that Alex Aramburu is in there as well for Movistar. 4 riders from Movistar in this group at least.
Jai Hindley there as well, Rob, second rider from the Bora team, Red Bull Bora team, excuse me. They're motoring as well, aren't they?
Is that Enric Mas in there as well?
I don't think so. It's Davide Formolo.
Well, there's 4 riders from Movistar. We've seen Formolo, Mühlberger, Aramburu, and then there's a rider on the
Mas.
wheel there. It looks like Enric Mas, doesn't it? He's been looked after by Alex Aramburu.
Could be a very good day from him. We all know how good Mas can be when he is good. He's been fairly quiet this Tour de France so far.
I think that's being very kind. He's 29th at 54 minutes 21 seconds for a man who's trying to look for the podium in his stated objective for the Tour de France. But he wants a stage win. "27 seconds then. We've seen Court. Here he is.
Criato as well, right on the back. He's really been trying these last few days. Last 3 days he's been on a break, last 2.
Simon Yates towards the back as well. There's an orange jersey there.
Bling.
Matthews is it? There you go. Again, good rider, but is he the man they want for this stage?
It's the hardest part about getting in a breakaway when the road is flat like this and the peloton comes back together, because for like the likes of Gamay there, if this break went on the climb, there's no way you'd be in there. But because when it's flat, you get riders in, which makes it more difficult to get your climber in there, because there's more riders then that want to go on the attack, that want to get away, and it's harder to police, it's harder to pick the right one, whereas on a climb, it's just the legs talking. The strongest riders, the strongest climbers will start to go.
Lenny Martinez has made it in. Good move for the Groupama man, and he was struggling the first couple of kilometres, but obviously got into its rhythm now, Sean.
Yes, well, we can see there's a mixture of riders here. There's, you know, big, strong riders like Bob Youngles on the front here, and punchers and climbers.
Good job. If Bini comes back, we have a shot at the point sprint, eh? Very good job.
Very good job indeed, and they've been doing a good job all the way through the Tour de France. They'd never won a stage before they came here this year. They now have 3, and Biniam Girmay is on his way to the intermediate sprint, and as we get closer, he starts to show his face at the front here.
Yes, well, we've seen him already just giving a pull on the front, and yeah, it's an interesting one. He just came back with other riders as well in this group. They arrived back in the peloton. You could see it was a little slow down. They went up on the right-hand side and bang, away they went. And I think it caught a lot of riders out by surprise here. And now 30 seconds, it should be enough to go. And as I said, if he picks up the maximum, which it looks like he will, well then the green jersey classification is, I think, out of reach for Philipsen.
Gap at 34 seconds. If you're watching on the telly, it's commercial break time. EF are chasing this behind. They've only got one rider in here from what I can see, and I think that is Rui Costa. They are one of the teams that doesn't seem too happy with this, Adam Blythe. And it's a good group. You can see the listed names up there right now. Plenty of potential stage winners, fast riders, good rouleurs for the considerable amount we've got in valleys as well today. It is a really good group, and it's growing, this gap now, 50 seconds.
It is, and I'm not surprised, you know. Look how everyone's just rolling through. Everyone's committed to it. You've obviously got Costa on the back, who's not been doing really anything, not being contributed to it all, not right on the back, but in the pink helmet there. It will be hard to get back, but this race for me, there's 2 halves to it, you know. It's almost 2 separate races. You've got the start until after that 3rd climb when you get the bonus points, second, sorry. After that, then you've got the long valley in the middle of the road. In the middle of the route, sorry. After that, you get into the latter part of the thing, and then you've got more climbing. So I think if you're going to get in the breakaway, it's this first third of the race, then you've got the middle third where it's flat, and then the last third. And for UAE, it's like a dream situation, this, with a rider not really up there on GC, gone up the road, they can let it go, cruise along. And for the other riders, the other teams, the likes of Quickstep and Visma Lease Bike, they're the ones that are going to have to push on. They're the ones that need to make it hard if they want to make it difficult for UAE.
This is the 3rd group of riders on the road. One of the early groups of riders dropped. Not the very first with the big name sprinters in it. Ackerman was in there. Ooh. Oy, 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 oy. That one nearly ended in tears from Tim Wallens.
Oy, oy, oy.
But that group that we just saw on the picture there looked like it was about to get in for a little while. I say a little while because we have the first category called the Montée coming up. Not sure it's going to be ridden at the same pace as the first one, because there's a bit of an order to the race at the minute, but it depends, doesn't it, what the gap is going to be when we get to the bottom.
I can imagine they go hard up this. I don't think they'll want to play around. I think when they get onto this next climb, they will start to go again. You know, there's a lot of riders, the likes of Carapaz, the likes of Healy, the likes of Simon Yates. These riders, we've seen them on the move, we've seen them on the attack already. And for me, that gap, 1 minute with the length of this next climb, 15k, they'll go. For sure, they'll go and try and bridge across to this.
What's your take on that, Sean?
I think it's looking like that. There's interest back in the peloton, and, you know, 1 minute and 3 seconds at the moment. You see the way they're riding here. They're really going full on, and it has to be back in the peloton. There are teams there who will continue to contribute, and the minute advantage as we go to the next climb. Like, it's a 9+ kilometre climb, so opportunity for riders to come across, and unless it knocks off, which is highly unlikely now, it looks like there's going to be another fight here on the next climb of the day, the first category one.
109 then, as the other group does get back on. Hands immediately go up to try and get some sustenance before the climb itself starts. But we've got an intermediate sprint coming up before then at Marignac. Beautiful green scenery of the Pyrenees on the picture. watching live coverage of the Tour de France at the end of week 2. The second chapter of the 2-day Pyrenean battle. Full on, full gas since the start. And the result is this breakaway up the road of just over 20 riders for now. Iberia well represented. The Spanish and Portuguese champions are there. Aramburu and Costa. This is a Frenchman. It's Julien Bernard. And he's on the wheel of Jordan Gega, another Frenchman. There is Aramburu, Spanish champion. Costa, Portuguese champion. Mas is there, the man from the Balearic Islands. Lenny Martinez, whose grandfather won where we finished yesterday, back in the 1970s. Jai Hindley was in the yellow jersey in the Pyrenees last year. Michael Matthews is there. Michał Kwiatkowski's there. This is Magnus Cort, and in the green jersey, Biniam Girmay. And Girmay is on his way to the intermediate sprint in just under 2 kilometers time now. Wants more points. 20 are available.
He's done very well to get in this break. You know, he's done really well. That climb at the start, you really have to pace yourself, not get carried away. He did exactly that. Got back into the group, jumped across to this breakaway on his own, made sure he was in there, put himself in. He'll probably get these points now unless anyone challenges him, but I can't imagine they are going to.
Louis Meintjes has just dropped back to try and help him. He's going to try and bring Girmay further up, looks around. Not often we see Meintjes doing a lead out, but we're going to see it right now.
Or ever.
There's a first for everything.
There is.
Moving along the road here. 1 kilometre now away, just less from that intermediate sprint. It's ever so slightly uphill, so that'll help the Louis Meintjes lead out. 500 metres to go to that point. Is anyone going to want to challenge him? Michael Matthews is on the wheel. Always combative, always competitive. Not too far away is Magnus Cort in the red jersey. But it's Meintjes here going all the way. 400 metres to go now. Girmay with a great opportunity here to add to his lead. No Philipsen, and these are real bonus points. Not that they haven't been worked hard for. He's had a hold on, he's had a chase on, he's had a work in this group, and now Matthews wants to challenge Girmay. Goes right across the road. Matthews unhappy with that, but Girmay looks around. He's taken 20 points, and he is ever so more the wearer of a very nicely fitting green jersey.
Very well done. Michael Matthews obviously not happy with Biniam Girmay taking the shortest line there. He was on his right-hand side, but Girmay just going for that apex of the corner to try and cut the road short. But yeah, Matthews not at all happy with her, and not even a little bit of a chat after it. But interesting, Bling went for it. Here's a replay of it. Binny just goes to the left-hand side to cut that corner, shortest line round, and obviously didn't see Matthews, but I still don't quite get why Bling went for it, Michael Matthews.
Well, this will be an interesting one for the man in the other, the green jersey here, because he did really chop Matthews there, and yeah, we've seen with the commissars they are really strict this year. Any brisk movement at all, well, they are clamping down big time. So it'll be interesting to see on this one. I think Guillaume Martin is in this group as well. So is he the best man in GC? 24 minutes approximately.
He looks to be the best man in the general classification in that front group, yes. 24 minutes, 47 seconds.
Surely that can't be it. Oh, it's obviously
DSM
not
unhappy though, because of course you've got the likes of Bardet who just missed that group, and you're looking down, no. nobody from DSM is in that front group. So they would quite like, obviously, to be represented.
Rightly so as well. You know, they've got about another 5k before the climb starts really going up. Not even, about another 3k, 2k before it really starts going up. So they need to try and stop that gap going out and try to bring it back. But there's only maybe 1 or 2 riders from DSM that are riding. There's 21 riders in this front group that are all rotating through.
Now then, look around, not happy. He's giving the sort of waving, swinging about. Sean mentioned the VAR yesterday. I wonder if they're on it. I mean, I think in past editions we probably wouldn't have batted an eyelid at that, but I guess with some of the decisions they've taken this year and how they told us at the start of the year they'd be looking at everything, we'll just see.
I still don't get why he sprinted.
Yeah, that one's a strange one, wasn't it?
I don't understand why he's so annoyed about some sprint points that he's not even in a competition in.
Anyway, sprint out the way. We're on our way to the next mountain. 158 kilometres remain for the next little while. I'm going to hand you over to Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. What a dramatic start, and all hail Billy and Guy. Some lateral movement there to try and deny Michael Matthews potentially some points. He's only on 12 points, Michael Matthews, I do wonder. End of today. We started dramatically. The very end, our target is Plateau de Bay. And this, for a number of years, was talked about as the mountain that predicted the winner of the Tour de France itself. In fact, in 1998, 2002, 2004, 2007, that's precisely what happened. Well, we've had winners, including on the Plateau de Bay, since, but it's an indication, a marker, if you like, of just how difficult the day is. Time for us to welcome Danny Rowe. What a start, Danny. Drama all the way, even in the intermediate sprint, for goodness sake, and there's plenty more still to come.
There is. It's been an absolutely brutal start to the day. Straight out the blocks from the off, wasn't it? And as if yesterday wasn't hard enough, 9,000 metres of elevation coming in these 2 days.
Straight to the front, start pulling. We need to keep this gap at 1 minute before the bottom of the climb. We have to keep it to 1 minute.
Well, instructions raining down for Frank Van den Broek to do his job. Goodness me, Danny. There's going to be calls to task, calls to order, almost as a constant here at every single action point.
There will be indeed. DSM clearly looking to get Romain Bardet up there and to keep this gap at a minimum.
Minute and 8. This is far from decided. The composition of that front group, there were some hit and hopers there on Bastille Day. Of course, you're going to have a raft of French riders. Bergadeau, Giegard were indeed up there. Guillaume Martin, we saw Lenny Martinez also troubling the front. Romain Bardet had a think about it right at the very beginning. The composition is likely to change, and quite frankly it may well start pretty soon, because our next climb is a bit of a beast. Danny, they come thick and fast, don't they?
They do come very thick and fast, especially now, like you said there, Carlton. You know, this climb is a long one, and then it's a descent and straight into the next category 1 climb. So this is where the gaps can be closed down. We know how quickly they can be shut down on a climb versus on the flat. So it'll be interesting to see at the top of the 3rd climb where the break, and if there is a break, is established, and what that time gap is there before we hit that valley road into what's left of today's stage.
It's interesting you mention the Porte de l'Aspet, because we're going to be hitting ramps of 10-12% on that. It's extremely short and sharp, I think you might say. Sean, that's the nature of the day. We haven't got these huge alpine passes, but we've certainly got enough tests here because of the inclines that we're dealing with. Short and sharp, a lot of them, and some of them quite regular as well, despite the twists and turns.
Well, today is a difficult day. At the start, we could see there the way, you know, it's slowly built up, and when it got going, the final 3 or 4 kilometres of the first climb of the day, the Perisode. Now we're onto this second one, and it's going to be a battle, because we can see the team is, you know, controlling here. EF Education, we also see the team of Romain Bardet were very active here on the front, and they're not happy with the situation. And 54 seconds, it looks like they're going to ride us, try and bridge across.
Carapaz can't help himself. Ben Healy has been so busy over the last couple of days. I'm actually kind of wondering whether the cruelty of what's rained down upon him in terms of the percentages he's been and the duty that's been demanded of him has just begun to wear Healy on the form of his life. Carapaz, of course, is one of those riders that instinctively takes the bait, Sean. It's happening now.
Yes, well, you have to move now. If the team orders is, OK, we've missed the move, we have to try and control it in the valley, which they have been doing. And I think it was the team of Roman Bardet and EF Education were controlling. And now we're seeing those riders trying to, get across to this. And we can see up front as well, it's also starting to fall apart here on this one. So, yeah, it's all a battle here. And this is the problem, as we said, for the riders who do not like this sort of stage, the sprinter guys. It's just going on, and it's going to continue for quite a while.
Rui Costa, super busy yesterday. Likewise, Mikkel Kwiatkowski. Maybe some fatigue just factored into the legs. We got two mountaintop finishes back-to-back, which seems a little cruel, to be honest, but it's the ultimate test almost today, Danny. And we've kind of seen that even from those who were part of the breakaway. Were busy yesterday. Too much maybe demanded of them to be doing exactly the same role again today.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a huge amount of fatigue even from the riders that weren't in the breakaway yesterday. If we, look at the parkour that's had to be tackled over the past 2 days, it's humongous. As I said, 9,000 meters of elevation over the 2 days, and very, very fast average speeds at that. So, yeah, there will be, but you did mention Ben Healy, and he's got a heart of a lion, so I just think this is how it works out for him, doesn't it? He fights again until that elastic snaps. So EF came into this tour with a plan of giving 8 riders an opportunity and to take a stage, so they have to try and close this gap down. Look at Biniam Girmay now. Job's done, though, you would say. Absolutely tremendous effort yet again to take those points, but now it's just about making the time cut.
His sprint began at the beginning of the day, to be honest. He was determined to get into a position where he could be part of the break and indeed ultimately take those intermediate sprint points. He has picked up another 20 to add to his total. It is an amazing performance. I'm hoping they allow those to stick. He will lead by just shy of 100 points from Jasper Phillips, who's one of the quick men that went out of the back door very, very early on. An ideal opportunity for Biniam to just show his class. Teddy Pogacar, top of the class at the moment. We do wonder, though, what sort of pressure he's going to be under today, Sean. Considerable, but he seems able to bear anything at the moment.
Yes, well, that is the class of the riders who are fighting for a Tour de France win. You're there every day. Those guys, the recovery, it's amazing the way they can, perform day after day. Big days in the mountains, the following day another bigger day, and they're able to do that, and that's what makes them the winners they are.
That's it for Matt Stevens as the percentages ramp up here.
I'm just with the Bora Hansgrohe DS, Enrico Gasparotto, Red Bull Bora. Got 3 riders in the breakaway. Enrico, you must be happy to have some good climbers in the move for you.
Yeah, definitely. This is the plan that we had this morning, and let's see if it works out, because some teams are not happy for that at the moment.
For the first time, it's not a GC team that's chasing, so this does look like they have a very, very good opportunity, especially after these next couple of climbs in the Long Valley Road.
We obviously have to see if then explode it again here in the bunch, then will be difficult. But at the moment, is a perfect scenario for us, yes.
What are you telling the guys on the radio? Oh, sorry, we are having to go. Sorry about that.
No worries, thank you, Matt. Always have to be mindful of those around you, and indeed the duties that they are upon, and that's a great thing of having Matt on the bike, just as we will with Adam and, of course, with Jens. Riders themselves who are fully aware of the circumstances that they have to avoid, or indeed the chances that they get to get involved. It's a gift. 7.4 kilometres before we get to the top. This has rather punishing percentages along the way, nudging up to 16, sometimes 16.5%. We've seen some of those already. Once we get over the top, Sean, however, we've got a very technical descent, which will take us down to the Portet d'Aspet, which again is a short and sharp, but it's the technical descent as well that may well just offer up a few worries today.
Well, yes, it's always a concern, but the riders will know the descent now is, a technical one. To be midway of that team briefing in the morning. over the radio as well. They'll be getting that information. But look at the damage it's doing here. We can see, this breakaway. It's just blown apart. And the peloton of the yellow jersey only 53 seconds down, and this is going to go on. It looks like there's no settle at all here in the main peloton, and this is going to be a cruel day, as we're still 7 kilometers from the top of the Mente. So yeah, it's going to make it a more difficult stage again. If the break was allowed to get away, smaller break, then the team of yellow jersey control, you get a little bit of a settled time, but it's not settling at all, and it doesn't look like it's going to settle for quite a while the way the race is going.
Ben Healy is up here. He's just tagged on to Simon Yates, who's Michael Matthews has just dropped back after out of that lifeboat, and so EF Education are starting to make some noise. We've had the pleasure of having Jonathan Waters with us over the last couple of days. The team, he says, they take their chances where they possibly can. And they've got a big chance today. We'll see how this one settles down. Only a minute and 15, though, Danny. It's hardly a yawning gap to Tadej Pogačar. I think I've lost Danny.
Sorry, Carlton. Mike was off there. Yeah, as Sean said, this really isn't over. There's no established breakaway. There's so much action behind that it really hasn't settled yet. So I think it'll be a case of getting over this climb. Then there's that 11-kilometer descent you mentioned, and then it's back up to the third Category 1 climb of the day. And then after that, that'll be a good indicator of where everyone's lying on the road and the intent of those GC teams behind, and if they're happy with the composition of the break.
Rui Costa has dropped back to pick up Carapaz. This looks like a master plan, Sean.
Yes, well, I think we see Rui Costa yesterday. He was in difficulty, and I think the best man, Carapaz, they're trying to get him across here. As we can see, he does his job. I'm not sure if he waited up. I think in the beginning of the climb, maybe. It was a little bit more explosive for him, but he's done his job here now, and Carapaz is going to bridge across, and that's what we could see as we came through the intermediate sprint point. The peloton was really being pushed along by a number of teams and riders coming across, and Carapaz is the one who's going to make it here. But yeah, we can see the peloton at the moment, 124 back. It'll be interesting to see what is happening back there. Will it settle down now on this break? Could be a one. Could push on, but it's all on at the moment, and 124 with still the 6+ kilometers to go. This is nothing. If these teams want to really push on, well, then this could also come back very quickly.
Potentially a more relaxed atmosphere, I would say, at UAE Team Emirates after the display yesterday, Danny. If you've got somebody like Carapaz up the road, he's not going to be a threat. And to be honest, I don't think Tadej Pogačar is that concerned, surely, to be pushing on for bonus seconds when they have the level of control that they do at the moment and the gap they have at the top.
I mean, never say never for Tadej Pogačar. I think he's made that clear that defensive isn't in his vocabulary. However, no, Carapaz will not be a threat. 50 minutes and 35 seconds on the general classification. And taking all of the interviews that we've seen overnight from UAE, I do think they will ride a more defensive race today. If you look at that final climb and the last 3 kilometers specifically, it definitely suits the attributes of Jonas Vingegaard over Tadej Pogačar. Yesterday, Tadej Pogačar on the less steep section was able to profit off the satellite rider of Adam Yates and use his explosive attributes to launch his attack when he did. So they don't have to put any more time into, the rivals, Jonas Vingegaard being the biggest one here. And I think they will ride more defensively today, at least until the final few kilometres of the final climb.
I was just checking on the points tally of Carapaz in the King of the Mountains competition, because there's so many up for grabs at the moment. I was actually thinking, gosh, he could start assembling a challenge in the polka dots. 2 back-to-back mountaintop finishes. Normally, when we get this deep in the race, you'd perhaps expect the organisers to at least throw in one descending finish. Well, not a bit of it. They are indeed here to punish, it seems. It's whether you can actually take that punishment today. And here is Tadej Pogačar. No hurry, just for the time being. And this group's starting to swell. We were battered at the top of the day. Sean's gone for some fried fish. We have Robbie McEwen, who's just installing himself. We'll be coming to Robbie in a short while. But what an amazing start to today we have had. Blown apart at the very beginning. We had a feisty breakaway that was starting to form and then deform and then reform again, as we see now. The pursuers, including Simon Yates and a few others as well. Mikko Kwiatkowski's drifted back out of the front group. Ben Healy, who's starting to think about coming back up. Romain Bardet, who was lively at the top of the day, this being Bastille Day, you'd expect that. Front group with just Lenny Martinez and Jordan Jega, who's one of the first starters of Guillaume Martin as well. 3 Frenchmen up front on Bastille Day. This is the national holiday, and a man who's going to hold his little flag up and guide us indeed over this next climb is Robbie McEwen. Robbie, a nightmare for some. If you can cope with these kind of inclines, an absolute joy.
Yeah, it's a day of contrasts.
We have to invest to really, it's a perfect scenario for us without killing, but we have to keep it rolling.
So just braking to take a listen to the, well, not so much instructions, but just a confirmation that they're doing the right thing, really, keeping things rolling. The boys from Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe just really need to keep the pace on and keep pushing, and they've had to pivot as a team completely.
2:11 average, I think.
The demise in this
That's
race
close to.
Robbie, just as you join us, we've got Michael Matthews on screen. That little skirmish that we saw at the intermediate sprint, I know the commissaires are on a hair trigger at the moment. Did Billy do much wrong in your view? I think he went defensive. Let's describe that first. But he did. He was ahead. He had the right to take the apex of the corner if he wanted it, and he clearly wanted it. But what do you think the repercussions will be? I mean, the amount of effort he put into it. If there is any sanction, I'm going to feel desperately sorry for him, even as leader of the green jersey.
Well, it remains to be seen. As you said, the commissaires have been on the hair trigger when it's come to relegations and the way they're interpreting sprints. The difficulty is when the road slings left, right, and there isn't an apex in it, you're entitled to ride a straight line from corner to corner. You don't have to follow the bend of the barriers, but yeah, there was an element of interference. Whether it really would have made a difference, I don't know. But even I wouldn't be bothered if they just said, you know what, we'll just reverse the placings.
Yeah.
I think the difference here, though, is why, Matthews was going for these points in the first place.
Yeah,
and they're not going to dispute that, surely, because, he had 12 points at the start of today. So, to me, yes, the commissaires need to be consistent in their approach, in what they're doing and how they are, making these
See you
decisions
guys.
on the road.
See you tomorrow.
However, surely from the Jayco Alula team, there's going to be no, dispute as to really forcing the DQ or